We are the Lake Town Spy Network. How you doing, Comic-Con?
Go tell the master of Lake Town that the Hobbit panel is about to begin. Swift boy, run! Hello.
Time and show this to my 13-year-old self. Welcome to today's panel on Hobbit, Battle of Five Armies, and a celebration of Peter Jackson's Middle-earth, the battle for 6 movies. My name is Stephen Colbert, and if you are anything like me, you don't just love these stories, you treasure the world of J.R.R. Tolkien. Let me take you to a time long ago, an earlier age, the time of Clinton, the dark days of dial-up internet. A rumor came to us that director Peter Jackson would be making an adaptation of the trilogy. At the time, many of us knew him only from his movie, Heavenly Creatures. And as great as that movie is, I wasn't sure there was room for hysterical, murderous teenage girls in Middle-earth. Other than, of course, Eowyn. I was worried that somehow he would take away my treasure, my hoard of precious Middle-earth stories. It was a very possessive, obsessive, very dragon-y feeling. So I found and followed everything I could about the progress of these movies. I remember seeing the first stills from the filming of Helm's Deep. I looked at every casting announcement. I scoured the work of John Howe and Alan Lee. I read the online debates about fantasy versus fairy tales. And I began to have hope. Not just hope that movies would be good, I was given hope that finally people might not roll their eyes when I started talking about Middle-earth. That my head full of facts from Fëanor to Faramir might suddenly have some social value. That someone might say to me, "Hey Stephen, you know a lot about Tolkien, can you explain something to me?" And I would say, "Yes, oh God, yes I will." And then movies broke upon the world, and to steal a line from C.S. Lewis, here were beauties that pierced like swords or burned like cold iron. Here were movies that would break your heart. Good beyond hope. And rather than taking away our treasure, Peter and Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens and Richard Taylor and Grant Major and Dan Hanna and the cast and the crew and Weta Digital and the land and the people of New Zealand itself added to our stories, complemented our imagination. The only problem, as I saw it, was that at a total running time of 11 and a half hours, they were too damn short. Feel, this must be how Orlando Bloom feels all the time. We wanted more! And though we had to wait nearly a decade, our patience was rewarded with the cast and creative team we love and trust, and we were invited back to Hobbit, to Rivendell, across the misty mountains cold, through water, wood, and hill, by reed and willow, to finally come face to face with the beautiful but dangerous silver-tongued villain of The Hobbit, the Lake Town Spy. I just hope I fulfilled Professor Tolkien's vision. Before we bring out the panel, we have a few more clips to show you. Now, these are clips from all 5 of the previous released Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies, many of which have never been seen, starting with one very powerful scene starring another member of the Lake Town Spy Network whose movie performance, for some reason, Peter Jackson decided to cut. Let's roll it. I have a question to start off for everyone on stage right now. Do you get that everywhere you go at this point? Or just everywhere in San Diego? Peter, how are you?
Me?
Yes.
I'm very good, thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much for coming.
Well, on behalf of myself and everyone here and all of the fans around the world over the last, how many years now since the first movie came out? 13?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Something like that, yeah.
Thank you very much for making these movies.
You're very welcome, thank you. I do have to send apologies from Martin and Ian and Richard, who would all love to be here, but Martin and Richard are on stage in London and unable to get away. And Ian's shooting a movie, that's right, yes. That's what's happening, isn't it? Yes. But they do send their love, and I'm sure you'll see them again sometime on some other project.
But Peter, are you done with the last movie yet?
No, we're still working. We're still, I mean, the creation of the movie never really stops, and so what we're doing at the moment, I mean, it's editing, but it's a lot more than editing because we've got battle sequences to do and a lot of other, rather intricate things, and so we're doing motion capture for that, or we're doing animation, in the case of some of the big creatures, and so I'm supervising that. Then that goes on to the motion capture stage. Then I go on with a virtual camera and I film it, which I absolutely love doing. So I'm still shooting the movie in essence. They haven't stopped me filming it yet.
Well, if you're looking to shoot a big battle, I think we have 6,000 extras who might be able to talk.
I know, they would be good too, wouldn't they? They'd know what to do.
Well, let me ask you something about how the movies are made. As you said, you're doing a lot of this motion capture and going into the digital environment with the camera to capture things. The people who work together on stage, is this the first time some of you have met here at Comic-Con, even though you've done the movie together?
Yes.
Some of us, yeah. Yes. Have any of you ever been in scenes together and never met before? Yes?
We worked together, and I didn't meet Kate until well after I'd finished working with her.
Really?
It seems to be my run of things.
It was great.
Wow. Did either of you complain that the other person was stealing focus?
Yeah, she took ages to come out of her trailer, and
You had that big long.
I kept eating all the
tail.
snacks, and I was in the way all the time. Yeah, kind of amazing.
Peter, when you started back in 1995 when you first started about doing these movies?
95 or 96, I think, sometime like that.
So by the time this film is released, once it's released, and it'll still be running in 2015, you will have spent 20 years thinking about this world. Could you imagine that this was going to take a generation of your life? And is that a happy thing for me to say?
Well, it's a commitment, isn't it, really? It's a commitment. But no, and it's a commitment I really have enjoyed taking. It's been you never know what's going to happen next. I mean, the very first thing that we ever pitched to Miramax back in 95 was to make The Hobbit as a single movie, and if that was successful, we'd do 2 Lord of the Rings movies. That was the pitch. That was what we, sort of, things went a bit differently, didn't they? But
yes, it was originally pitched to be 2 movies?
Yeah, well, The Hobbit was going to be, we were going to shoot The Hobbit first as 1 movie, and then if that was successful, we'd do Lord of the Rings back-to-back 2 movies. And that was the pitch to Miramax. That was the original pitch. And so you're so behaved that everything just changes, it's organic. So it would be really boring if it was 20 years where you had it all laid out and you knew exactly what was going to happen and you were just ticking the boxes, but it's an adventure. Every step of it's an adventure.
I do want to complain to you again, as I have before, that since The Hobbit, which was 1 book, became 3 movies, technically you owe us 6 more movies for the trilogy.
Sure, if Warners could find a way to do that, they would certainly be very happy.
Elijah?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Why
I don't think you're here doing this. This is amazing.
It is. It is.
I realize that.
Why don't you age? And Peter, did you know you were casting the immortal?
No, maybe I have a painting in my attic that's aging for me.
It kind of goes, the same thing also goes for the elves. I mean, Orlando and Kate. I don't know what creams they're putting down on you, but darling, I want some.
That's a good idea. We should come out with one, shouldn't we? An elephant face cream.
I do have, as a fan, I do have a question for the elves, people who played elves in the movie. So, since elves are immortal,
You call us elves, we like it.
you like being elves?
Distinguish between people who played elves and people who are elves.
You might be an elf. Do elves, do you have to think differently, or are you thinking as a human? Do you have to put yourself in the mind of an immortal when you do this? Do you have pity on the rest of your cast members and your character?
I was typecast.
Yes?
They're incredibly generous. I was just grateful to get a job in this one. I thought my time was over in Middle Earth.
Yeah, you and me both.
Are elves generous, do you mean? Or have Peter been generous to bring you back? What do you mean?
A bit of both.
Okay.
You know what I do? I do think Galadriel's incredibly generous. It was a big stretch for me.
Just to get you out of tragedy.
Now, Peter, can we talk about the tone of the movies? When the trilogy of The Hobbit was announced, my understanding is that the tone of the movies would sort of progress toward the tone of the Lord of the Rings movies and sort of match up when you watch them all together. How would you say the tone has changed from the first movie, from An Unexpected Journey to Desolation of Smaug? How's that extended in this movie?
Well, I think it's extended the way that you would imagine it would extend seeing the first two. It's a progression, and it's certainly, I guess about everybody in this room knows what's going to happen at the end of The Hobbit, never mind. You know, there's a lot of sadness and tragedy, and you know, which is good. It's always great when you can kill off some main characters. I tell you what, it's like as a filmmaker, I think, God, it's like when you can finally kill somebody. It gives you a chance to do something, you know, hopefully that's powerful and emotional, and otherwise you're a little bit. I mean, so anyway, we do get to kill a few of them this time round, so it's good, and I think you'll feel it getting quite. Yeah, well, I mean, dark isn't the word. I mean, these are fun movies. Fun, you know. Even the Ring movies were fun. I don't think they're just, you know. But yes, it's not as comical as the first Hobbit movie for sure, and they're progressively getting towards the tone of the Fellowship of the Ring. Do you know Elijah was 18 years old when he did Fellowship, by the way, Moses? Which one I worked it out.
And he's still 18 years old. Philip, as one of the screenwriters, when having the luxury of telling the story over 3 movies instead of 1, do you wish you had been able to include more things in the first 2 movies? I mean, in the first 3 movies? If you had this sort of pace of storytelling that you have in The Hobbit as opposed to Lord of the Rings, are there things that you guys wish you could have put in the first 3 movies that you had to take out just for time?
Yeah, you mean in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, sure.
Say, Tom,
I think of them as just a continuation. Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course, the Old Forest, definitely, and Tom.
Did you think about Tom Bombadil at all? Did you consider about it?
We did. Pete had some very funny ideas, including seeing his hat while they were on the road. Do you remember that? We actually wrote that into the script. But no, that will have to be for another generation of filmmakers, I suspect.
Did you have anyone in mind for the cast? For Bombadil?
No, but can I tell you that we did do a wish list, I remember, and it's sitting in the box somewhere because Pete keeps everything. And on that wish list was a young Australian actress for Galadriel called Kate Blunt. And that was our absolute number one on young. No, this is true. And then.
But I had Kate in a wish list in a box somewhere.
Bombadil. No, for Galadriel. No, that was our first list of possible people for casting.
I see. Right.
Well, Benedict, you're playing the ultimate heavy.
Sorry?
You're playing the ultimate heavies in this movie. You're playing Sauron and you're playing the dragon.
Yeah.
How would you characterize the difference between these 2 bad guys?
One's a dragon.
Someone have a pen? I'd like to write that
Yeah,
down.
take a stand. You need to know this. One's a dragon and one's an all-seeing, non-corporal entity of evil. Did I go over there? No one's screaming, rubbish! No, it's, yeah, one's real, one's made of something that's vulnerable, and one seems to be born out of everything that's evil and difficult to pin down and actually kill.
Is there any benefit to doing the motion capture that you hadn't experienced before? As an actor, is it something that motion capture gives you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You don't get the
You're
standard
completely
makeup.
free to just make a complete fool of yourself and lose yourself in your imagination, and you don't have to hit. It's much harder what these guys did with green screen, acting opposite ping pong balls and marks of tape, and pretending that's your reality in the whole costume with continuity, taking into account camera moves. I was just throwing myself around a carpeted floor like a lunatic.
And Andy, did you have any advice for him? Did you have any advice for Benedict on how to do motion?
Just make sure you don't get carpet burns, really.
Yeah, put the Velcro in the right place.
Exactly, yeah. Benedict, thank you. They love you, Benedict.
Graham, as Dwalin.
Yes.
As Dwalin. Do you think that the dwarves get enough credit in this movie for being heroes? Because they're not the most obviously sexy creatures.
Well, obviously to the female dwarves, we're very, very sexy.
Are there female dwarves?
There are. Well, I've often thought that the entire journey is seeking a female dwarf. And boy, it takes us a long time. But no, it's nice to be the only representative of my race here today. I feel a little outnumbered by my elven compatriots, but yeah, no, it's been an extraordinary experience being a dwarf when you're 6'3". So that alone was 2.5 years I'll never forget.
Luke? Can you actually shoot a bow? Did you know how to do that before you took the job?
Yes, yeah.
Where'd you learn? Were you a Boy Scout?
No, I did it in Butlins. No one would know what that is. It's a very working class holiday resort, and I went with my family as kids, and that's what we used to do. We used to archery. But no, I mean, when I got to New Zealand, I really did it properly then, and used a very, very big bow that was much bigger than me, and arrows that were very, very large, and yeah, I could probably do it. We did have to actually do a day. It's a shame, because I think Aidan Turner remembers the day when we were all shooting, because the dwarves used to shoot from the hip, and I used to shoot from the face and whatever, and we had to aim at these little action men that they put on the wall, and I did it. I got it, I beat them.
Kate, as an elf, we haven't had a chance to see you fight. That's one of the things that the elves do better than anyone else. They're the ninjas of Middle-earth. Are we going to be able to see you fight this time? Do you have a weapon?
Well, I actually, in the high school production of The Hobbit, which you did, I actually played the bard. So I was sort of prepared for a bit of fighting. But as an elf, you have to wear, because you're very tall, I'm relatively tall, but not that tall, I have to wear these sort of hugely high sort of disco glam boots, which will... So it's a little bit tricky to even walk.
So underneath that gown, you've got disco heels on.
Hmm?
You've got disco heels on under the gown.
Not but just for height.
We do get to see Galadriel losing it a little bit in this next movie. Good.
It's a bit judgmental, yeah. I lose my shit, is that what you're about to say?
Yeah.
Elven shit.
I'm sure it sparkles.
She does. She gets to kick Sauron's ass a little in this next film, so.
Philippa, have you recovered from me smoking you in the Tolkien trivia contest in August of 2010? Have you stopped therapy from me crushing you?
No, but it was very touching because your very beautiful wife came up afterwards and said, I think this is the greatest night of his life.
Peter challenged me to a trivia contest with Philippa, and
He took me out.
And I won, and it was. And as I said to you, you don't understand. I'm an athlete who's been training his entire life for a race he never knew was coming.
I think it might have been a little closer than you remember that.
We could remount the challenge for charity.
Do you remember what you won on? What was the winning answer? Do you remember?
No, but I do remember when Stephen Fry said, "Oh, you've really got the crowd on your side." It was when you asked me who Goldberry was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you actually asked me what Goldberry was, not who Goldberry was.
Oh, did I? I think I did.
Yeah, so you were just trying to trip me up with the old River Daughter answer.
You know what was really funny? Because it was me and Stephen, and we were asking each other questions. So I think nobody else in the room knew whether we were getting them right or wrong.
Well, no, that was in the final round.
Yeah.
Stephen Fry and I designed questions for the two of you to start with, and then you guys ended up just, when it all got a little bit crazy at the end, you guys just started firing really hard ones at each other. And none of us really knew, yeah, that's right.
Well, the clincher for me was when you asked me Goldberry and I put my head down on the table and everyone thought I didn't know what the answer was. But I was just trying to think of the first line of the poem. And so I raised my head and said, "Oh, slender as a willow wand, oh, clearer than clear water. Fair river daughter, oh, springtime and summertime, spring again after. Oh, wind on the waterfall and the leaves laughter." I think probably.
Normally winners are very modest, aren't they?
I'll never have this opportunity again. Now, I've noticed that there is a difference in class in Elfendom. And Orlando, your father does not want you to date down. Perhaps the two of you could address this. Is there a social message in this movie?
Yes, I'm a low-class elf. Is that what you want me to say?
You are.
You want me to admit to the
You're a
world
trash
I'm a
elf.
low-class, trashy elf. But my shit still sparkles.
Was that on your resume? Is that how you got the gig?
That was on their wish list. We've heard Evangeline Lilly's shit sparkles. We like her as an elf.
Well, Peter, I think based on the time, I think maybe we've. Where are we?
We're okay. We can do
We're okay. All right.
Another 5 minutes or 2 minutes of questions.
All right.
Have you run other questions?
Any of the actors here, I'd like to ask about your experience in New Zealand. You know, Lee, for instance, have you been to New Zealand before?
I've never been before, but I absolutely made the most of it. I love being outside and hiking and stuff, and you can't find a better place for that than New Zealand. Like, awesome hikes. Really, really fun.
I had a feeling when we went down there again. Peter invited us down very kindly. My wife and my two boys and I were extras, and we spent 2 weeks down there. I had a strong feeling that I should never leave New Zealand.
Yeah.
You know, it was really like, this is where I will be a man. You know what I mean? It really calls to you. It says, are you as raw as this mountain is? Could you carve out a life? Plus, no bears.
That's right. That's nice.
Does anybody have any anybody do any adventure travel down there? Because there are a lot of ways to kill yourself not being killed by an animal in New Zealand. Did anybody take advantage of any of this sort of adventure?
I went heli. I can say this now because I'm out of contract, but I did go up a glacier while I was down there.
And you didn't tell me.
They helicoptered us up to the middle of the Fox Glacier and then left us there for a few hours.
Brilliant.
And we went through ice caves. Yeah. And then me and Aidan jumped out of an aeroplane as well.
It's the sort of country where you can do a lot of that jumping. I jumped out of things, jumped off things. Anything I could get thrown out of or off, I would pretty much do.
Orlando, did you move down there for any period of time?
Like 3 years.
Yeah. No. After the movie was over, I understood you stayed for a while.
I sort of come and gone a bit, but it's funny actually because there was an email exchange between me and Dom and Elijah just 2 days ago talking about getting residency in New Zealand. Dom was like,
We realized it was a little more complicated
residency.
than we initially thought, yeah.
Yeah.
All he throws himself off anything and with a bungee on. It's like, unbelievable.
Did any of you come to the stories of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit for the first time through the films? And did it make you then go back to the books, or did you say, to hell with it, I'm never going to read them? Elijah, did you go back and read the books?
I actually haven't. Truth be told, I still haven't read the books.
Oh, never?
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
Listen, I've said this before.
Get out of here!
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Elijah, do you know how to read?
I do.
Because you've been in show business since you were a child.
I read The Hobbit when I was a child, and it was a big, big book for me. And I had The Lord of the Rings on my shelf, and it was one of those things that was very daunting and was kind of always there. And I thought, I'll get to that one day. And then these movies came about, and I felt like I was living it and experienced it in such a profoundly deep way that I never really consulted the books. I imagine it's something that I will go back to, but I don't know. It was such an experience over the course of such a long period of time.
I loved reading Lord of the Rings so much when I was young that when I got about 25 pages to the end of Return of the King, I took my book and I reverently closed it and I said, I will never read those pages because this story must go on.
Oh.
And I have never read those pages.
Really? Oh, that's beautiful.
Ever.
No, Evangeline is a serious geek, a serious talking geek.
No, I love Tolkien, but I don't know squat. Like, I can't remember the names, the places, so I fail every Tolkien geek test, don't try. But I love him.
Oh, he's so disappointed.
No, not disappointed at all. Actually, you've never been more attractive. What do you think of my hair? Should I keep this? Really fantastic. Andy,
hello.
Tell me about the work. Tell us all about the work you're doing in London now with your company.
Well, look, I mean, it's been an extraordinary 15 years. When Peter asked me to come, when I met Peter and Fran in London back in 1999, I think it was, and the idea of playing this creature Gollum came up, and there wasn't like an exact method of how it was going to be done, but basically Peter wanted an actor to come on set and be there and play the character and not have Elijah and Sean have to imagine someone. It basically changed the course of my life with such magnitude. Of course, you know, not only was it about finding a way of bringing that character to the screen, but also creating a methodology of work, which again, you know, then went on. I mean, actually, I have to say, the epiphany for me of kind of where I'm at today came immediately in the last weeks of doing Return of the King, because on my birthday, it was the 20th of April, and I think it was 2003, the last pickups for Return of the King, and it was my birthday, and Peter asked me on that day, it was literally right at the end of the pickups to play King Kong, and I suddenly realised I thought my life was going to go back to normality, to play normal characters in normal films in a normal traditional way, and then the idea, it sort of hit me over like, hold on a minute, I've just played this 3.5-foot ring junkie, and now I'm going to play a 25-foot gorilla. Wow. This means typecasting is no more. You know? This means you can do anything. You can put on one pair of spandex suits and go and enjoy yourself on the carpet and play any manner of things. And that kind of fascination and enjoyment really has continued over the years. And most of which has been, again, involved with Peter and learning with Weta, who are the most fantastic, amazing bunch of people to work with. And, you know, it's a sort of knowledge base and a skill set, and which I love and adore, and I do think philosophically as an actor it does break down so many barriers. You can play anything, you know, whatever you are, it doesn't matter. You can play anything. And Weta, they're incredible, and the work that they have continued to do in their facial pipeline, and you know, going back to play Gollum the second time and seeing how that all moved on and how the performances are really beautifully rendered now and very truthful to what happens on the set between the director and so on. It's been a fantastic, amazing, unbelievable journey, of which, of course, I never had any, I couldn't foresee coming at all. And it's ended up with being in a position where very, very luckily now I'm trying to bring it to the Northern Hemisphere, because I realise it doesn't actually exist in the Northern Hemisphere, it's particularly in Europe. So we have a place called the the Imaginarium, which is sort of, I see as a sort of, Northern Hemisphere touch base for anyone who's happening to be doing OAE from New Zealand who wants to drop by and work there. So it's a great time, really enjoying it, and it's very much down to Peter and Fran and Philippa and all the incredible experience that I've had. Well, thank you.
You touched on something that I think is really interesting. You said you might be going back to normal films after doing this. But I think certainly after the first 3 films, what it meant to make a normal film had changed. And the work that you did actually, sort of as the Lon Chaney of the digital world, is to change what could be done on screen, and for Peter and his team to change for one thing, what spectacle means in a movie. Certainly after the Battle of the Palano Fields in the 3rd movie, I said immediately after the battle's over, nothing can ever be called spectacle again without first being compared to this event. And so, how do you see the change that's happened in film? Like every battle, two people clashing, like close shots of people clashing in a battle on screen these days, looks something like it's an echo of that Dagorlag battle at the beginning of the prologue for the first Fellowship of the Ring. Everything's got that rush and that clash feeling that just didn't exist before. Do you see your work being echoed?
I did a little bit, yeah. I did recognise some of the sort of style of some films that came through in the years following. But I mean, that's amazing. I mean, as a filmmaker, there's no better compliment than to feel that you've influenced the way in which other filmmakers, the tools that they can use and the way that they might want to shoot their movies. So it's I'm in the middle of doing a battle right now, actually. Big battle of the Five Armies.
Would you by any chance have any way to give us an idea of what that movie is like?
Well, we could screen our teaser trailer if people want to have a look at the teaser trailer. The world's first screening of the Battle of the Five Armies teaser trailer. Should we
Thank you.
It's all right. That was really just for you, Stephen. I mean, these other people were here as well. That was really just private screening.
Thank you for not giving away the part where the leader of the spy network saves the day. Kate, Galadriel is kissing on Gandalf in there. What's going on?
It's an ancient love story. It was actually born the first time around. I was so sad because I adore Ian, as does everyone here. But I hardly got to do anything with him at all.
What?
I mean, anything at all. Because in the first story it was glancing.
Oh, you mean in the first one, of course. You don't.
Yeah, the first time around, backwards. And so it was so special. And also having worked with Hugo so intensely on stage over the last 10 years, sort of 10 years later to go back and then, all the core story, of course Galadriel's just a footnote in the Hobbit really, to have such a beautiful, loving relationship of understanding.
Did you wear any of the original costume? Did they bring any of the costume?
I thought you said did I wear underwear. Yeah. No, but my figurine didn't have. My boys were horrified because they weren't born the first time around. To see the figurines and that elves didn't in fact wear underwear, so I didn't. That wasn't what you would have wear. That was a bit too much sharing. I think Ian did wear underwear.
I think you buried the lead on that story. No, did you wear any of the original costumes from the first 3 movies in the Hobbit book?
No, it was all, well, I think the crown was the same, but it was all kind of rebooted and revamped, but of a theme. I wasn't wearing trousers.
Did we use any original costume? Elijah, did you
I don't think it was an actual original. I think it was a remake.
I mean, we tend to keep the original costumes. They're sort of sacred now, so we kind of don't get sweat in them again. We're hoping to do a museum one day where we can have all this stuff on display. So we didn't really want to trash the Lord of the Rings stuff for the Hobbit generally, so we tended to make new stuff.
I did have my wig. My wig was the same.
Yeah, my wig was
Oh,
the
really?
same.
My wig was the same. Yeah, we had 2 wigs from Lord of the Rings, and we.
But your ears different. My ears. Well, your ears
No, my ears-
continue to grow. You
Yeah.
understand ears.
Well, they had to re. They had to re.
Wait a second, your ears didn't fit anymore?
No, he was growing his ears to try and get them to be half as beautiful as Tariel's big pointy ears.
We have an ear thing. Sorry, Tariel was obsessed with that.
Yeah,
big
yeah,
pointy
yeah.
ears, and I was like, I think they should be a little simpler than that, honey. But she was like, no, I'm going all the way on this ear.
I know how sexy a big pointy ear can be.
A bit more aerodynamic,
This time around?
Yeah.
I felt.
Yeah.
But you can only say that in retrospect. I mean,
Peter, speaking of saving things from the Lord of the Rings, one of the things that people may not know is that you've got these huge warehouses in Wellington with all the old
Well,
sets.
they know now, don't they?
Sorry,
Our secret warehouses, yes. That's right. Come
Yeah, it was just one of the greatest experiences of my life was to walk through.
Yeah.
the Misty Mountains.
Yes, Misty Mountains, go to Minas Tirith, to stand in front, tower over Minas Tirith or Rivendell, or to actually take a quick look, to really take a look at what you had at the Grey Havens. Because in the movie, you don't get to see any of the mountains.
No, the Grey Havens is a
constructed.
beautiful miniature, as you say. It was never really seen. So.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Beautiful, yeah. But we just, we've got it all, we've kept it all, and so, we've kept it all for a reason. I want to try to let people see it one day, so more than just you. I mean, it was nice having you there, Stephen, but it'd be nice to have these folk there as well.
One thing that you don't see in the movie, I don't know whether you took it out digitally, but when I went and looked at Grond, when you have Grond, it's like the 12-foot long version of Grond there, the warhammer that knocks down the gates of Minas Tirith, is that it's a wolf, a ravening wolf with fire coming out of its mouth, but the prop itself has a penis. The wolf that you made. It's a penis and it's it's very sharp. It's kind of a terrifying image.
How do you know the wolf's penis is sharp? Did you touch it?
I'm a super fan.
I didn't actually realise it until you pointed it out. But no, it wasn't removed. I mean, no one ever asked us to remove it in the film.
Did you remove it? No.
Must be there somewhere.
It's there.
Yeah.
Stephen, it's because of people like you running around and touching wolves' penises that Comic-Con is a scary place to be.
All right. You ready to do some fan questions? Everybody out there? We've got microphones in, let's see, where are they? Right over here, where the light is. And the young woman wearing the armor buttons. Yes.
This is the Lord of the Rings cape and Hobbit cape. Everything on here is Lord of the Rings and Hobbit. In 10 years, I expect to be back here watching clips from the Silmarillion. First things first, in dragon voice, Benedict, could you say button lady?
Lady.
Thank you. My question is for a couple of the elves. We've seen that two-shot of Bard and Legolas. My question is, does Legolas teach Bard about archery, or does Bard teach Legolas about archery?
Whoa. Ooh, I like the way you go with that.
We have a bow off.
Yeah, we have a bow. You do get to kill the dragon.
Do you want the sensible answer or do you want a silly answer? No, but did you ever...
Bob told me everything I know.
I've seen your archery skills.
The truth is, both of these guys are particularly good at archery in real life. And so they're both sort of quietly, I think, thinking, how do I tell them I'm that this guy's okay, but I'm really good.
Yes.
He's got longer arrows and a bigger bow, but not quite as good a shot.
Is that a metaphor?
Oh, my arrows are sharp. Very long.
A bit like that wolf's penis.
Yeah, Mike, your question.
Firstly, to Mr. Jackson and to everyone involved in these, thank you very much for bringing these super epic movies. My question, my children, Logan and Olivia, wanted me to ask this to Mr. Lee, but he's not here, but perhaps the cast could answer. Who do you think is more evil, Saruman or Mr. Wonka from the Willy Wonka movies?
Willy Wonka is not evil. Willy Wonka is a master.
Oh, Mr. Wonka, the gentleman who kept his son in that races and let him leave the house at age 10 and
Got it there, bro. Stumped. Don't often see that.
I'll pass that question on to Chris Lee when I talk to him next.
The young guys.
Hi. I'm a huge fan of Tolkien and Lord of the Rings and Hobbit, and I'm also very interested in the technical aspects of acting. So I was wondering to all the actors on the panel if you had any specific technical techniques that you use in order to get into character, especially considering that sometimes you don't actually have an actor to play off of.
He's looking at me.
Andy Serkis has been voted the answer of that question.
You know, the fact of the matter is that although there's technology involved in the way of creating characters, I can only speak from my point of view, of characters like Gollum, really, what it is exactly the same. All you need, all you need is the eyes of another actor to look into, and that's it. You know, people attach this whole kind of mystery to performance capture. Really, the magic is having brilliant actors together in a room, or on a set, or in an environment, and being able to play off each other and not let the technology become a part of it. That really is the key. So it's about, you know, embodying the character as you would in a very normal way, despite the fact you're only wearing a spandex suit. You know, or any of that stuff is just about, like, you know, losing the ability to lose yourself in a world, to lose yourself in a character, to bury yourself in a part so deep that you believe that you're that person or whatever. I mean, the technical aspects are challenging in movies like this. There's no question, but I don't think anybody on this stage really would let that get in the way of what it's really about. And I think that's the key.
Well, it's like layers of imagination. We've got Tolkien's imagination, and then our imagination comes in, and then CGI comes on top of that, and it's like all of these kind of beautiful collaborations, you know, one on top of each other. But if everyone's imagination is kind of alive, I think the movie gets cool.
I think it also must be said that, I mean, Benedict was talking about working to a tennis ball or green screen. Certainly in the first movies, I had no idea how to play an elf. And unlike any director I think I've ever worked with, Peter and also Philippa and Fran, before every scene, would absolutely, as if this was a piece of naturalism, describe what had happened before, that show you pictures, drawings, things, plates they'd already shot of what you were looking at, the atmosphere that you were in. So even though there were fans going and wind blowing and people covered in dots and half prosthetics, you were completely invited into the given circumstances of the world as if, you know, you were doing Chekhov, kind of, with prosthetic ears and boots.
Yes. Hello. This question's to Lee, Andy, Benedict, and maybe the rest of the cast. If you had to take the characters that you played to attend Comic-Con, where would you take them and why?
Hall H. I don't think I'd fit in anywhere else. Be a bit of a squeeze.
I don't know, I'd ride my elk right up that aisle right there. Oh, I love that. I left it in New Zealand. I don't have it with me.
Let's move on to the next question.
I asked Andy as well, so.
Well, Well, I don't know where I'd go, but Gollum would probably go. Well, why don't we ask him and see where he'd go?
Well, my secret dream. Precious, yes, what is it? I would quite like to go backstage with Stephen Colbert and see what he's got inside his costume, Precious. Yes!
Yes, the young man surrendering.
I'm a Navy SEAL with over 300 confirmed kills. I have an actual question. When you guys were working like on The Hobbit, like all three of them, were you? I missed both, but were you guys thinking of doing this more as its own film or as a prequel to Lord of the Rings?
Philippa?
It's interesting because we did make the decision to use the appendices and from the Lord of the Rings, so we knew it was going to be set against that backdrop. So it did shift it, of course, from the children's novel, which it clearly was written to be by Professor Tolkien. But what's cool about that is we do get to go places that you know about in the novel, but happen. You know, Gandalf leaves the company. We get to follow him. We get to see what happens in Dol Guldur, and we get to see the White Council go up against Sauron. So that kind of stuff makes it really cool, really fun.
Yeah, it's you know, when Tolkien wrote The Hobbit in 1937, it was just written as a book that he wrote in the absence of any other Middle Earth material at that stage. But of course, the Hobbit movie is different because the Hobbit movie is coming out after the Lord of the Rings film. So we coming at it from a different direction than Tolkien did. He sort of worked his way up, and we're kind of working our way down the other direction, really, to sort of to blend them. But I mean, I've always wanted to just make them work as a 6-film set. That's what I mean. With the goal going in at the beginning was to try to get the Hobbit and to be the tonally, to be going to the Fellowship, which then ultimately ends with Return of the King. So I've been always just thinking of the 6-film sort of, you know, box DVD set, except by the time it's finished, probably won't be any DVDs anymore, but never mind. It was a shame. But the 6-film downloads does not really good.
What's cool about it though is you do get some people are going to watch this from the beginning. They'll have never seen it. They get to start with The Hobbit and go all the way through. And you mentioned Galadriel's relationship with Gandalf. So when you get to Fellowship and Legolas says he fell, and your reaction to that is going to have a whole new meaning, I think, now once you see what they go through in Dol Guldur.
Yeah, there's a generation. We meet a lot of people that have got young kids who they're taking them to the Hobbit films. They've never seen the Rings films, and they're going to see the third Hobbit movie, and then they're going to show them the Rings movie. So there's a generation now that is going to be the way that they're going to think of these films.
I think we have time for one more question.
Okay. Hi. I'm a huge fan of the extended edition, because I think most people are here. But, you know, over the years, there's all this rumor of there's more footage out there we haven't seen. Is it going to be in the big 6-disc set? How are we going to see an even longer cut of Lord of the Rings down the road? Or have we seen the definitive version of those original 3 films?
I mean, there is a few scenes that haven't been seen from The Lord of the Rings, but not many. Very, very few.
What were those scenes?
I'll tell you one day. Don't worry. We'll just keep. That's. I mean, there was a Arwen and Aragorn scene, wasn't it, when they were younger and when they first met. But Vigo looked like he was 12 years old without the help of computers, so it was quite amazing. But no, there is a few scenes, but I don't know. We might try to put them back in. I mean, it's not without its issues, because The Lord of the Rings was 7 million feet of 35mm film, which is sitting in a mountain in Arizona somewhere, I think, at the moment. Seriously, I think that's where Warner Brothers have some vault somewhere, a nuclear-proof vault somewhere where all the negatives, like the 7 million feet of our film is sitting in, which we'd have to go and retrieve it. So it's a big logistical thing, which I don't think anyone's quite got their heads around. But if there's enough interest from people, maybe they will.
All right, before we go, you have a contest to announce here, Peter. It's the Hobbit Fan Fellowship Contest. You're inviting Ultimate fans to sign up for a chance to win a trip to New Zealand. Experience the cinematic Middle-earth. So what sort of things might these people be doing, these fans? How many, and what would they be doing?
And is Stephen allowed to participate?
Caster, not allowed. Caster, don't even try. There's going to be more information on the internet about how how you get into this. It's like we're going to be choosing people to come down in early November, and you're going to be the first people in the world to look at the Battle of the Five Armies with me sitting in a cinema in New Zealand. It may not even be finished. It may not quite be finished, but it'll be close to being finished. Well, I'm supposed to say it'll be finished because the studio's here. Who knows? It'll be finished or very, very close to being finished. But no one, virtually hardly anyone ever outside of the people working on the post-production will have ever seen a single a single scene at that point. So you're going to see it exclusively, first time, and I'll be there, and we'll chat, and we might even get to show you some of these secret warehouses and things too. So, Stephen, I think there's also trips to the South Island involved too. There's like a little tour of New Zealand, a tour to Hobbiton, and we're going to open this up and make it, we're going to pick 75 people. We just thought we'd end in style. So 75 people plus a partner. Each of the 75 can bring a partner. So that's
more than 75 people.
Yeah.
Look for details on the Facebook page or at thehobbitfancontest.com. And we'd like to thank Air New Zealand, the official airline of Middle-earth, and Tourism New Zealand for their support to make this contest happen. And, Peter, do you want to announce this? There's right now.
Well, we've already selected our first two people to come down. We've had the Lake Town Spy Network has gone out and been talking to fans to find, fans that we think would be appreciative of coming down. And we've chosen two. We'd love to choose more than two, but you can all apply. You can all. Well, it's not like applying. It's like you've got to do stuff. But you wait till the details come out on the net. But the two are Chris McMeans.
Are you here, Chris McMeans from Austin, Texas?
Austin, Texas. Yeah.
Chris.
Morgan Bergener. Morgan
Bergener of San Diego, are you here?
Morgan. He's in line. If you are, can you make your way to the microphone? Can you make your way to the question mic at the end of the presentation, and a Warner's representative will meet you. But seriously, that's only 2 out of 75, so there's still 73 places to go, and we will hopefully see some of you down in New Zealand in November for this secret screening. I'd just like to thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much for flying out and doing it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing my talk.
we, does anyone want to see the teaser trailer again? Let's run the teaser one more time, please.
Stephen Colbert! And Lord of the Rings, The Battle of Five Armies opens everywhere December 17th from New Line, MGM, and Warner Brothers. And I'd like to remind the Hobbit fan contest winner to come down to the microphone where you'll be blindfolded and taken to an undisclosed location. I will see you guys later this afternoon. Thank you so much for coming out to the panel today.